What I've done is I didn't have highlighters. I thought I did, but I couldn't find them. So what I did was I used color underlining. It's probably not going to show up on the video very well, but I have like this like orange or gold colored for my main heading. So this would be like my highest level of organization, and then I go to my subheadings are green, and then I move on to a blue color. So I guess you're just gonna have to take my word for it because it's not showing up very well. If I had highlighters, I'm sure it would have come out really a lot clearer. So, but what I did was on these answers, I just did. I probably went through half the answer. I didn't do it for the whole answer. I think these answers are about, I think one's 11 pages, one's 13, and one's 14 pages long. So that also can tell you by looking, hey, how long are these answers? You know, was yours 7 pages and the only other answer that had the fewest number of pages was 11? Then you're probably missing something, like maybe your analysis was too short. Maybe you miss an entire section. So things like that can tell you a lot as well. So anyways, so the point I want to make is if I look at the first level, the highest level of organization on this answer, I'm going to see some similarities from answer to answer. On this, the heading I, it's Roman numeral 1, I, it says the CC&Rs prohibit the construction of the disputed tower because they are to be strictly construed in accordance with the choice residential district of the CC&Rs of Pinnacle Canyon Estates. Okay, that's kind of a long heading, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to look at this next one, and it says defendant's cellular tower is a prohibited structure according to ordinary and plain meaning and provision 4 of the Pinnacle Canyon Estates CC&R. Okay, so what we have that's similar between these two is that we're talking about the CC&Rs, we're talking about the Pinnacle Canyon Estates CC&R specifically, and we're talking about a disputed cell tower. They're both saying that the cell tower is prohibited. One is saying it because the CC&R should be strictly construed, and one is saying it's because this it's prohibited according to ordinary and plain meaning of the CC&R. So the terminology is a little bit different, so that would come down to, you know, like the legal rule, maybe what was more accurate. But basically, they both have the same first main heading. It's the cell tower is prohibited according to the Pinnacle Estates CC&Rs. Let's look at the third one. It says the CC&Rs prohibit construction of the disputed tower because the tower is a structure within the meaning of CC&R general provision 4 under the rules of contract interpretation. So again, it's different but has the same basic the same basic core meaning, and that is that the CC&Rs prohibit the construction of the disputed cell tower because it's a structure within, you know, the meaning of CC&R. So that's basically what you need to have written as your first main heading on your answer to be going in the right direction. This is what 3 strong answers have all included. So when you can do this, when you can break it down section by section, you can see what it is that you should have been doing, and you can start to see if you missed it. You can also compare them, like which one did I like better? You know, like this first one was really long, but it was really comprehensive. It's kind of like its own mini IRAC. It tells you what the issue is. It tells you what the conclusion. It's kind of like what do they call it? The CRAC, conclusion rule analysis conclusion. It tells you what the issue is. It tells you what the conclusion is going to be. So basically, what the argument is and what their position is to the court, and then it's telling you why. It's got the because, right? That because is always going to tell you, hey, this is the analysis, this is the reason why, and they quote the legal rule, that basically the CC&R's rule. So that's pretty good because the grader can look at that and know, hey, I kind of know what this whole argument is going to be. They've covered their basis. I know what the issue is. I know what the rule is. I know what their conclusion is. And so that's kind of all together. This one is pretty short. It's prohibited structure according to the ordinary and plain meaning. But it tells you kind of all the same information. So you know, it gives you the roadmap to where they're going to go. It doesn't go into as much detail, but the grader is going to know, hey, they're getting the same basic stuff. It's the cell tower is prohibited because of the CC&Rs, and according to the ordinary and plain meaning of that provision. So gives you the same information, and then also this one does the same thing. It's kind of like a medium length. So that's the very first organizational level. So my next level, I use green underlining, and I just want to point something out. This answer has its main section. It's got subsection here, here, and then it goes up to another main section, right? So we have visual clues kind of as to how they're organizing it. We do because we've highlighted it, but also the grader does because this person has used the number 1 and bold lettering for the main kind of the overview level, and then for the subsections they used letters like ABC and underlining. So numbers in bold and letters in underlining. So we can kind of visually know when they're changing from section to section. This answer as well has the Roman numeral, and then the main heading is in all caps. And then it moves to all caps underlined without a number or a letter. And we can see that this organizational system is used throughout. This last answer has bold lettering. That's it. There's no numbers, there's no underlines, there's no letters, there's no caps, there's nothing. And this whole answer does this. So I know, because when we're looking through these, that there's like a few main headings. They've got their subsections, all this stuff. Not everything has equal weight, but on this answer, which was actually a CalBAR answer, it doesn't do that. There's no visual clues to the grader or the reader, that's us too, to us readers, exactly how it's organized as far as subsections, like main section, subsections. And that's really frustrating, right? Like even as a reader. So you got to think like, hey, if this is annoying me, I'm not even grading it, it's going to make it a little bit more work for the grader. It's not going to be as apparent to the grader that if I had written this, that maybe I understood the weight of the different like rules or the different sections, or how to break it up, how to organize it, present it to the court. So that's not going to look so good on you. So by doing this, you're going to see a lot of things that aren't even just content. It's not even just like, hey, did I get this legal rule? It's, you know, did I do something that is helping my paper, or that's helping my answer get a high score from the grader? Am I helping the grader along? Am I making their job more difficult? So you can figure these things out. So, you know, say you have 4 or 5 strong answers that you're looking at, only one of them has kind of like not strong organization. They probably did something else well to get the good score, but you can see like, hey, organization is really important because it's really a common attribute among these strong answers. So, so if you want to go through in more detail the subsections, I find that 2 of these answers, one which was on the CalBAR and one which had the 70 that's on my Be a Goat blog, have really, really similar like subsections. Their wording is really similar. The way they've organized things is really similar. They mirror each other a lot. The one that was the other CalBAR one that I just said didn't have really many visual clues as to organization is harder. You have to kind of go through and you have to figure out like, okay, this would be correlating to this other answer in this way instead of it just being kind of apparent. But it is in there. So even if the organization doesn't give you the clues, it is a little bit harder for you to use when you're scoring because it makes you work to find it. When I do go through it and I do look for the main issues and then the rule statements, like the test with factors and elements, that it is in there. So what you're going to be doing is really looking for that. I mean, obviously the organization is going to be different. There's thousands of people who take the bar exam. I'm sure there's thousands of different ways that these answers are organized. So, you know, that's something the grader, I'm sure, is used to having to do, is just kind of figure out, okay, how does this person organize their answer? But they're looking for these main sections, subsections, these legal rules and principles. If there's like a 3-factor test, do you have all 3 factors? Like in this particular PT, there is a 3-factor test. It's the Blair 3-factor test. And this person clearly separates each factor, number 1, 2, and 3, and discusses it in a clean IRAC. So you take each subsection, treat it as an IRAC. The one that doesn't use the organization cues is kind of frustrating because it's in there, but it's not that clear. So, so you can just use that as a learning tool as well. So the point is, there are lots of ways to utilize sample PT answers to help you gauge your performance on that particular answer and to learn from. You know, you're going to be getting better. You can start to evaluate after you've done quite a few, like, hey, is this person doing a good IRAC? Is it kind of messy? Are they clearly stating that rule and doing some analysis and moving on to the next section? Is it logically organized? Just the overall organization of the answer? Lots of things like that. So you can learn a lot. Take the time. I know it's so exhausting, like after you've done a PT and you've spent the 3 hours and you've gone through the material, the last thing you want to do is like read, you know, what are we talking about, like 12 pages times 3 right here? What is that? 36 pages of someone else's answer and try to like, you know, go through theirs and figure out what was their organization, how are they approaching it. But just know that these are strong answers. It's worth your time. Take the time to highlight. Have your system for highlighting. It may be, you know, all the issues are red. I mean, you don't have to use my rainbow system, but it just helps to know, you know, if you go to from the broad overview to more minute details. The red, I mean, the rainbow system just kind of makes sense because red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So the red is kind of going to be the basic organization, then orange, then yellow, and then, you know, if you're highlighting stuff that's purple, it's going to be some really detailed minor things. But then you can just look, hey, I'm only looking for green right now. I want to look at all the green that's in these 3 answers, and I want to see what they did that was the same. And then, did I catch that? Did I do it? Did I do it better, maybe? So, so take the time to do that, and it will be well worth your time. You can learn a lot, believe me. You're going to start to understand, you're going to be able to start to evaluate your answer and the sample answers that you're looking at pretty well. I mean, believe it or not, you're going to be doing it so often that you're going to know what you're looking for. And that's why I recommend only using strong answers. You don't want to be getting used to looking at crappy answers. You don't want to see, you know, poorly written answers and start thinking, hey, that's okay, or I did better than that. Well, that's not really what we're shooting for. We're shooting to do a lot better than that. We're shooting to pass these people. If it has a bad answer, you know, you don't want that score. So don't use that as your bar. You want to set your bar high, and you want to shoot for the highest or the best scores that you can get. You want to shoot to emulate them, and then even if you don't hit the mark, you're still going to be doing a lot better than you would have if you hadn't been using those as your guide. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, my blog is beagoat.com, and you can go on there, get free sample essays and PTs, the ones that I do have. If you have any high-scoring essays or PTs and you'd like to donate those, please, by all means, contact me, send them to me. Just scan them, send them as a PDF. I'm not going to put out anyone's name or anyone's private information. I'm just wanting to help everybody else because it is so useful to be able to look at those. And you know, I'd love to get feedback on the video. I don't know if people are interested in watching these videos. If you want me to talk about maybe some other aspects of the exam, if you want to go into more detail in PTs, please let me know. I would love to just kind of be as much help as I can. We only have 17 days left to the exam, so just keep plugging along. Stay strong. You're doing great. It's almost here. It'll be over before you know it. That's not to make you panic. That's just to give you hope and reassurance. So just do your best and practice those PTs. If you haven't practiced any, practice at least 2 before the exam. It is time that will serve you well, I promise. All right, everybody, good luck.